Developers do a whole lot to ensure a game feels right, and sometimes that means playing a little fast and loose with the truth. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but part of the fun is getting taken for a ride. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 times developers fooled you. Starting off with number 10, it's the Counter-Strike co-creator getting fed up with players complaining about lag. Way back during the earliest days of Counter-Strike, and I'm talking way back, when it was still just a Half-Life mod, the co-creator was getting fed up with people complaining every time he updated the game. It seems like every time Min Lee would update the game, he'd get flooded by complaints from players saying that the lag was suddenly much worse, that they broke the game somehow, even though for the most part their changes really never had anything to do with the netcode. You gotta remember, this was back when everybody was completely obsessed with lag, like way more than they are now. Most people were still stuck on 56K modems back then, which sucks bad. So lag was a constant issue, and on top of that, a really convenient excuse why you sucked at a game. So even though nothing about the game was actually changing, none of the updates they were pushing through could have possibly affected the lag. The online performance wasn't being touched by anything. Players still whined and moaned about some kind of perceived spike in lag. He was fed up, so one day he just threw up his hands and, I don't know, maybe he didn't do that exactly. But he changed the game so that everyone's ping rate would be less than 50 than their actual amount. So if a player's ping was 100, it would display as 50. And you'd think people would see through this obvious deception, but nope. Tons of players praised the game for fixing the lag problems. Even though nothing had changed other than the number, the actual connect speeds of players was exactly the same. Honestly, that's pretty embarrassing on the part of the Counter-Strike player base during the mod days. And number 9 is the 1% chance of success. A legendary troll from Final Fantasy XIV, and it's going to require some explanation. A lot of games pull little tricks on the player to momentarily surprise them. Stuff like fake error messages in Batman Arkham Asylum. But after the initial shock, it's obvious what's going on was fake. This trick's a little different. It dared to threaten potentially dozens of hours of in-game grinding. You have to bear with me here, because I'm far from a Final Fantasy XIV expert. But my general understanding of how this works is that there are these extremely difficult and tedious to obtain relic weapons, which you need to build through a painstaking process of collecting a lot of hard-to-get materials and combining materia and weapon parts. It's essentially a very long quest, similar to exotic weapon quests in Destiny 2, at least as far as I understand it. I didn't actually do any of this stuff in Final Fantasy XIV when I played it. But let's say you've spent hours and hours trying to build all these weapons, and then one of the last steps required to get the last weapon, it throws this message at you. Please be warned, the chance of success for turning a relic weapon Nexus into materia is 1.4%. Your relic will be lost if the process fails. Do you want to proceed? The message is intentionally confusing, but it's essentially saying that you have a 1.4 out of 100 chance of succeeding. The game then gives you the choice to proceed or not, but even if you choose no, the game does it anyway because it's a trick. There was no chance of failure. The devs just wanted to make players sweat for a second. What makes it so effective is that they seed the possibility of failure into your mind early on. There's a point earlier in the quest where there's a chance material will break and it's not a trick, so there's always that possibility in your mind. At number 8, the secret zoo level is definitely real. Most alternate reality games, ARGs for short, don't have the most satisfactory conclusions. Usually they're just elaborate teasers for new games or movies, but they do usually lead to something. Like they do have a point of some kind for existing. At least they should, right? Accounting Plus is a VR game developed by Crows and Squelch Games. It's the Stanley Parable devs joining forces with the guys behind High on Life, so it should come as no surprise that it's a weird game, and it's got a lot of obscure secrets. Right from the start, they're teasing the possibility of a secret zoo level. It started with a teaser during the 2017 Game Awards, and spiraled into an elaborate ARG with many parts that were about a lot of things, but they were always making references to a secret zoo level. Players poured through the game files, they played the game back to front in every possible way imaginable, and posted elaborate theories on Reddit, obsessed over clues on the Discord. It went on for like 3 solid years after the game came out. Even now, you still get people posting time cube-like deranged manifestos saying they figured out the secret zoo level. It's 2024, and even though the devs have never officially said it, because why ruin the joke now, there's no secret zoo level. The entire ARG was just an elaborate joke played on the most diehard fans of the game. It was never solved. Nobody ever found the secret zoo level. It's just a huge joke that some people chose to keep alive for the fun of it. What makes the trick so cruel is that they deliberately strung people along for a long time. Seriously, this alternate reality game, it's long. It's not a no-effort thing fans were projecting all their hopes and dreams onto. The devs were deliberately stoking the fires and getting people hyped about a secret level that does not exist. It was an elaborate waste of everyone's time, which, I mean, tracks with the Stanley Parable and the High on Life developers. And number 7 is Todd Howard telling a lie. Listen, I know Todd Howard has a bit of a reputation as a gentleman with a bit of a loose definition of the truth. We all remember the many "it just works" memes, but I'm not talking about that today. For this entry, I'm talking about Todd Howard deliberately fooling us with an intentional lie. During a Q&A at QuakeCon 2009, Todd Howard answered a few questions about the future of Elder Scrolls. When asked about a possible Elder Scrolls 5, he said don't look for a new Elder Scrolls game in the near future. When asked about a possible MMO, he only said, I guess there's a chance. These statements, which got blown up by the games media, made some fans upset. Bethesda responded with a blog post to clarify the comments, which didn't really add much. But basically, they said they're not discussing their next big game. This led everybody to assume the next game wasn't going to be an Elder Scrolls game. Keep in mind, this was 2009 and Skyrim didn't get announced till 2010, but here's the thing. Development had started on Skyrim back in 2007, and Todd made those comments in 2009, so he had full knowledge that Bethesda was working on a new Elder Scrolls, and pretty much just lied about it. Also, the MMO hadn't been announced either. That game was made by a different division, ZeniMax Online Studios, but old Todd knew about it. He just kept it a secret. Developers do this stuff all the time. I mean, remember when Rocksteady swore up and down that Arkham Knight was a completely new original character? Or like, that the Joker was never going to be in another game again? That's kind of worked out for the good and for the bad of things. But yeah, whatever. It's just funnier coming from Todd Howard. If there's one guy who knows how to deploy a well-placed non-truth, it's Todd Howard. At number 6, the not-so-impossible achievement. In the original version of the Stanley Parable on Steam, there was a controversial impossible achievement. It's called Unachievable, and it literally says it's impossible to get this achievement. Well, that's it then, right? There's no way to get it. Joke's on any achievement hunter who buys the game. They'll always have this blemish on their perfect record. The game is full of dumb achievements that are mainly a joke. There's one that unlocks after 5 years, one where you have to play the game for the entire duration of a Tuesday. Absurd stuff like that. This bothered people, though. Tell a gamer that something is impossible and they will try to find a way to do it, no matter how pointless the goal is. That was the case here, with players trying to figure out some way to manipulate the game in order to make it so they could get the achievement. Of course, it wasn't actually impossible to get. There was a secret method to getting it, but every time it seemed like someone had figured it out, the developer would go in and change the parameters. Someone realizing that quick saving and quick loading could get you the Chivo, and the developer would read the comments and secretly change everything so someone else would do it, and it wouldn't happen. It was just to make the players rage, but eventually the jig was up and enough people were aware of what was going on. When someone figured out that they can get the current method to work by not patching the game, that was it. The jig was up. The developer fessed up on the Steam forums, and that's how we know about any of this today. At number 5, Game Dev Tycoon players going bankrupt from piracy. It's a commonly passed around story, but it's a good one, so why not revisit it? As revealed in this blog post by the creator of Game Dev Tycoon, at the same time they launched their game, they also put up a version of their game on a popular pirating website. They filled in the description to make it look authentic, and they had friends seed the game so people would bite, and they did. The pirate version of the game is identical to the main game except for one thing. After a few hours of playing the game normally, messages start to pop up saying the newest game you made has been pirated, so you're losing money. Every game that comes out after this has a high chance of being pirated, putting your virtual game developer into a death spiral. If players had the regular game, they'd never see these messages. It's only if they were playing the version uploaded to a torrent. Soon, messages started popping up on Reddit and the Steam forum complaining about these piracy messages, saying they're ruining the game. Little did they know they were revealing themselves to be pirates. Saying you were getting that message was saying, I stole the game. Listen, the piracy debate isn't that black and white. There's a lot to talk about, but we're talking about developers fooling players here, and that's the criteria. These guys did it. It was a great prank, in my opinion. I'm not necessarily on their side with it, but it is very fun. Like, they made people complain about piracy ruining their game that they pirated. And number 4 is Riot's placebo nerf. You know, as far as patch notes go, they come out, everyone panics about nerfs, and the entire meta changes based on a decimal point going to the left or right. Everyone wants to play armchair developer. They scrutinize every little change. They declare that the game is ruined forever now, blah, 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 no. And this is all before the game's even patched. The reality is, most patch discussion is pure speculation, doomsaying, wishful thinking, because we never really know what these numbers actually mean. Sometimes the developers don't even actually know. Obviously, people can speculate and have fairly accurate predictions, but sometimes the actual effects of a balancing patch can't really be felt for months after it comes out, which can make the hoopla over patches a little overblown, especially when they don't actually do anything. As revealed by a developer during a live gameplay Q&A, there was a time when they posted patch notes about the character Vladimir, who was getting a nerf. Apparently, he was going to lose his bonus speed effect. Players read this, immediately assumed the character was nerfed to oblivion, and the play rate for Vladimir dropped like a rock. Here's the thing, though. The dev forgot to actually submit the appropriate files, so Vladimir was exactly the same as before. He still had his speed buff, he was the same character, nothing was different. But the play rate sank because people assumed it was worse without actually checking to see if it was true or not. Where have we heard that before? I feel like everywhere now, actually. Goes to show you how much havoc a dev can cause with just a few simple words and some patch notes. At number 3, this dev decided to think positive. Some devs use their ability to fool players for good, usually in harmless ways, but some, like these guys, are seemingly in it for the money. A funny idea on paper, rather than try to chase the user reviews, the devs solved that little problem by calling themselves, and I kid you not, Very Positive. That's their dev name and the name of their publisher. Clearly, it was designed to trick people into thinking the game was well reviewed. It's an obvious ruse to anyone who's even a casual gamer, but still, plenty fell for it. The developers tried to pass it off as a harmless little joke, but Valve wasn't having it. They banned the devs and kicked them off Steam, which might seem like overkill, but it's likely that Valve was just being cautious. If someone decided to sue, Valve would probably be considered liable, and this isn't the whole sketchy gray market of item trading where they're making money. The only one getting rich off the name Very Positive was the developer, so Valve cut them loose. Come on, guys, if you're gonna do something this dumb, go all the way. They should have just cut to the chase and called themselves Overwhelmingly Positive, but I guess that was just a little too far even for these guys. And number 2 is fishing in Path of Exile, a joke that was obviously meant to fool players, but if there's one constant in the universe, it's that Path of Exile players are perfectly willing to be the fools. Since 2013, the devs behind this game have been sneaking in references to fishing in the patch notes. It's supposed to be this super secret Easter egg activity that only devoted fans would find, and for at least a little while, people legitimately thought there might be some kind of secret here. There is some stuff in the game that makes the whole thing seem real. There's some pieces of fishing equipment that are incredibly rare and hard to find, along with a special NPC that has a very low chance of appearing, who gives players cryptic clues about fishing. The whole thing was meant to be a wild goose chase, an endless ARG. I know it's ARG, don't get on me about it, I just like saying ARG. But rather than get strung along, the player base chose to embrace it entirely and ironically. They know that this whole thing is fake, but they pretend it is real. Go on Reddit and find any thread talking about the secrets of fishing, and you will find some of the most spot-on parodies of theory crafting, secret hunting nonsense I have ever seen. And these guys put serious effort into it. They made like flowcharts, like Photoshop's flowcharts. It's all crazy. They write these gigantic posts, and they know it's all made up. They know it's fake, but by God, they're gonna make an entire YouTube video about the complete guide to fishing. That's dedication to the bit. I love it. And finally, at number 1, adding a good ending in the patch notes. All it took was 3 little words in a patch note to send some players into a frenzy. Added good ending. The game was Immortal Planet, a top-down Souls-like indie game that was one of the earliest games in the genre, and it wasn't bad at all. It was a little basic, but an interesting attempt from a small developer. When those 3 little words appeared in a patch, players got excited. No other information was given, nobody knew what to find or what to do. One of the devs in the Discord egged players on, giving them cryptic clues to push them along, but after 2 weeks, nothing was found. Because, well, as you probably have guessed, there wasn't anything to find. Another patch was posted saying, remove the good ending due to popular request. There was never any good ending, it was just developer trolling. The community reacted the way most people do on the internet, by getting really annoyingly self-righteous about it. Some players demanded an apology, and the Discord dev did apologize, but the lead dev didn't. It seems like overall it was a little episode that left a lot of people with hurt feelings, but it had really low stakes. I mean, this game strung people along for like 2 weeks. Who cares? It's a pretty funny joke, honestly. Accounting Plus had an active ARG going for years, and they still have not admitted it's a joke. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on Game Ranks.